My name is Phil Mershon with Return on Initiative, and it is my pleasure today to introduce to you a gentleman who I have known for some time and who you're going to get to know. His name is Alan Tarr, and Alan specializes in something that is a little bit unique. We could maybe play What's My Line on some other occasion here, but Alan is a professional copywriter. And not only that, he will teach you how to become a professional copywriter. And that is just one of the things that we're going to talk about today as we welcome our good friend Alan Tarr. Alan, how are you?
Hey Phil, how are you? I'm doing good here in Arizona. How is West Virginia?
Well, got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. That's, as you can see behind me, this is the big town. So so what does a copywriter do? Can you explain what the essence of that wonderful occupation is?
Well, it's an interesting thing. The word copy means text, means words. The word writer means writer. But everybody says, well, you're a writer. I said, no, I'm a copywriter. And there's a heck of a lot of difference between somebody who writes a novel, short stories, poems, or whatever, or even newspaper articles, and a copywriter. A copywriter is there to educate, inform, and influence. And they're there to do it in as short a time as possible and make it as understandable as possible. So what a good copywriter does is sort of what I did when I was teaching in high school and junior colleges back, many, many years ago. You want to give yourself and your listeners an absolute reason to understand. And it was one of the most singular people in U.S. history was President William Howard Taft. The reason he was singular, well, actually, there's two reasons. One, he was the only one that got stuck in the White House bathtub and had to get the fire department to get him out because he was a little bit rotund. But the second was he was also the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And his quote that I keep dear is, don't write so you can be understood. Write so that you can't be misunderstood. And the nuance between that is the nuance between a wannabe copywriter and a copywriter.
Wow. Don't write so that you can be understood. Write so that you can't be misunderstood.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got that exactly right out of William Howard's biography, I guess.
Wow. So, that's fascinating. Does that happen sometimes where do you see examples of that yourself? Like if you're reading a paper or magazine or something online or TV, you think, oh, okay, that meaning isn't exactly clear, is it? Does that happen?
It doesn't happen all the time because we want to take care that it doesn't. But people will try when you speak to your friends or something, and they use a word, and they think the meaning is one thing, but you think the meaning is another thing. It could be just a small matter, as I've said, of nuance, but understanding could mean, I know what you're talking about. Understanding could also mean an agreement. Now, I may not agree with you, but I understand what you say. And that is a difference in that word. So you really have to get your words down so that pretty much anybody can understand them. And if you will, I'll give you a little story about my first, when I was first an intern at a Madison Avenue ad agency, fifth largest in the world at that time. And for 6 months, I was just, shut up and listen, Alan. And then finally, I got the go ahead to go ahead and do something on my own. I was given an assignment to write about 250 to 250 words on a dog food. And I never had a dog. I didn't know anything, but they give you a brief and you go through it. And the guy says, I want it in 2 days. I said, okay, boss. I took it home over the weekend. I worked it. I threw it out. I worked it, threw it out. I worked it, threw it out. I worked it, threw it out. Finally, something hit me. I started writing. Just fell into place. Brought it in on Monday, handed him, said, Steve, here it is. And he says, thank you, tucked it under his arm. Well, hey, aren't you going to read it? He said, no, not now. I'll get back to you. Well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Finally, the next Monday, he gives it to me. He says, okay, here it is. I said, did you read it? He said, of course I read it. I read it 5 times. My wife read it 4 times. Yes. What'd you think? He says, we thought it was one of the most humorous treatments of dog food we've ever seen from any copywriter. I said, we're going to run it? I said, my head was exploding in great vanity. And he said, no, it sucks. I said, what? He says, yeah, I hate to tell you, but I gave it, see, I have a master's degree and my wife has a PhD. We understood everything, every nuance, everything you said. It was hilarious. I gave it to my 11-year-old daughter and she didn't understand a thing you said. Now you rewrite that until she does. My first lesson, the average copywriting target is a fairly bright 5th grader. And that's the way you write, unless you're writing to lawyers or doctors or something like that.
In which case, it's a lower age than that.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's what they teach, and that is absolutely true. Some of us get so full of ourselves that we want to show how prolix we are. You can go look up prolix in the dictionary, Larry. Phil. I keep thinking you look like Larry King. So, but anyway. You can look it up in the dictionary. It simply means having a large vocabulary or being verbose. And we don't want to be that. We want to have every single word as simple and understandable as possible. And that's what we do.
All right. And the baseline for that is a 5th grade person.
About a generally bright 5th grader.
Bright 5th, okay.
Yeah, a bright 5th grader, or as I was in 6th grade, tepidly not so bright 6th grader.
Okay, so, well, I mean, I could ask what that says about the market, but I'm not going to ask that. Okay, so you had to rewrite it. You went back and so where did you go from there?
No, I eventually passed my tests, and from the company, and they kept giving me little assignments and bigger assignments and bigger assignments. I started when I was a sophomore in college. I was an intern, part-time, low paid. But then I stayed with them afterwards, and a number of years into it, I got a lot of experience, a lot of work. I learned from the masters. It's funny because my website is writelikeamadman.com, and the reason I use that name is because if anybody has ever seen the TV show that was on AMC called Madmen, it's about Madison Avenue admin, thus Madman. It was done using 4 people, 4 great copywriters who became heads of agencies, who are the legends of copywriting after World War II. And they really restructured everything. And it was David Ogilvy, Bill Bernbach, Rosser Reeves, who was my titular boss, which means I never met him in person. I saw him speak once. He was the chairman. I was in the basement,
Right.
And Ray Rubicam. uh, 5 great agencies and 4 great agencies, 4 great men. And I'll tell you, you just got a wealth of learning. So when I wrote something, my boss, Steve, would say, Alan, think, what would Chairman Reeves say if he were here? I said, well, he said, so then go and do it again.
The show, Madman, which was a fabulously popular program and on for years and years. From your perspective, was that pretty accurate? I mean, was that sort of the way that it was coming up?
It was accurate, but like anything, if you watch it like NCIS on TV, every week they're getting their lives are in danger. They're shooting people. No, it's a composite. What Madmen was they were trying to show you that the suits, meaning the account executives, were the ones who were the creatives. And it did not go that way. They had in the basement or wherever it was in our building, we were the bottom 2 floors, and it was the art department because there were no computer graphics during those days, and the writing department. And if they needed a presentation for a prospective client, they would tell us what they needed. Well, tell them their idea maybe, and we'd all come together and meet and figure out our parts of it and then do it. Mm-hmm. Then they would present it as their own work. It didn't matter to us because they had to wear suits and we could wear jeans. And that made all the difference to the people in the basement.
Right. And there is some value in jeans. So you have, I know you have a lot going on, but one of the things that you do is Madman University.
Pardon me?
You have a school, Madman University.
Oh yeah. It's right. It's mad, right, like a Madman University. What I did. Let's go back a second. You asked me before we started, how did you get started in this business?
Yeah.
I didn't go to school to be a copywriter. I went to school for drama, speech and exposition, and wound up really loving musical comedy. And so in the second year of school, we put on a little impromptu show contest, and we had a few professors who sat down and judged it, and then some of my group won. Okay. He came to me afterwards and said, who wrote this? I said, I did. He said, you wrote everything? I said, yeah, pretty much. He says, what's your major? I said, well, drama with a heavy dose of musical comedy. He says, you're in the wrong business, son. You don't look like Paul Newman, and you'll never be another Zero Mostel. So why don't you come and talk to me about my class, and I would love to have you in it. What's the class? He says, copywriting. I go, what's that? He says, that's what you just did. I said, okay, I'll come into your copywriting class. And I found that was the most fun and challenging thing I've ever done. And here's the secret to me, I never had to crack a book. You want to know why?
I do want to know.
It comes from in you. And I had always in high school, junior, I would love to write stories. I would write limericks, things like that. And all of a sudden I found something I don't have to study hard for. Just get the particulars. And where I really learned how to read it, even with Professor K, when he sent me, he says, you've got to do this because your school, where I went, if you were going to get a business degree, you had to work, paid work, for the equivalent of 4 semesters out of the 4 years. So he sent me to this ad agency, and the guy hired me quickly. He said, will you work for $4 an hour? I said, sure will. He says, you're our boy. Anyhow, I walked out of there and I had a head that was, really big.
Sure.
And then I found out I really wasn't. So, but it was a great start. I learned, as I said before, I learned. And most copywriters I have ever met who are good started out as something else.
So, all right, well, let's talk about that for a second. They started out as something else, just like that was your plan too. Um, why do you think that happens? Is there somebody out there who just keeps discovering all this hidden talent, or?
Because you go into school, this is only my opinion.
Sure.
You go to school and you take English courses and other courses where you have to write papers. The further you go up in the high school and then college, and you have to write more and more papers. And the truth of the matter is, most people didn't like that. They couldn't do it. And I would always try to take a different tact. And I think a lot of my contemporaries would do, we would do things that were off the wall. I was once asked to write a paper on a fictitious foreign policy problem for the United States in grad school. And so I wrote this thing about, well, life on the outer planets where it was not possible, but we have a subaqueous civilization living on our continental shelf. And now they're coming out, and because almost all UFOs at that time were sighted over water, coming out of water, or going into water. Ergo, I made up this civilization. I wrote the paper. I got an A. I never cracked a book. And I said, this is for me. I took that copywriting training, and I became a freelance copywriter, and then I had my own firm. I started in 2002, helping others. And when COVID came and sort of locked, I was doing like 39, 40, 41 presentations a year. Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. And they dried up. Every one of them canceled. I said, I better think of something else. So I decided to take everything I had, make it into a system of courses. And when that COVID was over, just about, I had 8 courses and tutorials and another 200 and something additional pieces in my toolboxes. And I said, I'm getting to a certain age. I'm going to start giving back, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I'm doing now. I work with people who want to be copywriters. I work with business people who have to be copywriters because they can't afford to hire one at the prices we charge.
Alan, let me stop you right there. That is a really important point, because there are a lot of people out there, whether they're in real estate or retail or anything, who are maybe not in a position to, like you say, to afford a quote professional copywriter. How can you help someone like that?
Well, I help them by taking them from a position of either you like to write or you have to write. So if you're going to do that, you might as well do it right. And the first thing that people have to learn is, guess what? You need to write correctly, or else your business is going to go down. 77% in my last survey of 200 and something small business websites failed what I call my power effectiveness test. They were terrible. In order to fail, you have to be terrible. And these were terrible. And if you're going to have a website, which most businesses do, and they need to have it because it's their #1 marketing tool, don't write it like you were a 3rd grader in Miss Mercer's class in English for 3rd graders. Write it as if you were the customer and you wanted to tell the business what you needed, what you wanted, and how you want them to do business. You put yourself in the customer's clothing and you say, it's all about my customers, not about me. And when people stop talking about themselves, then they have something to look at as a copywriter. Then you can build on that and show them different formulas, different templates, different ideas on how to write. Most people just put paragraphs down the page. Well, that's a certain death. It is. Other people write, if you ever see a website, it starts at the left of the screen, it goes the sentence goes all the way to the right, the first line. Then nobody reads that way. Nobody. We were brought up to read books, magazines, and newspapers. And the most, I believe, the most characters per line is about 60 to 70. And you're writing 140 characters a line. Nobody wants to do this all day. They get tired. Their eyes get tired.
It's like watching a really a slow person's tennis match, isn't it? Where they're yes, it's
yeah, it's like me and when my friend and I played. We're so of an age now that we don't run, so we don't try to beat the other guy. We try to hit it where he can hit it.
I can relate.
Yeah.
So this everything you're talking about kind of like evolved then into Write Like a Madman University.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So what you were talking about before, all of the things, all of the information that you pulled together that you're now providing to people, that became Write Like a Madman University.
Yeah, there we have. If what you're asking is, we have 5 different courses on copywriting and marketing for pretty much every level. It goes from 2 marketing courses of 101 and 102 level. It goes into a 13 video copywriting course. Adjunctive to that, there is a course just on how to write websites, web pages. Then we go into the advanced copywriting techniques and how to elicit certain actions by what you say, how to lay out a page, how to start at the top and funnel the people down, answering their questions before they can ask them, and giving them solid reasons why this is good for them. See, one of the things about copywriters is we're not sharks. A real copywriter is there to help a person make the decision that is best for him, not necessarily for your client, because if you write that way, you will get more clients. We're not out to trick you.
Right. That's terrific. So you make it seem like anyone can do this, but I have a feeling that there's more to it than that.
Yeah, everybody can learn to do it to a certain degree. Then talent comes in a little bit too. And the people who have the learning and training and the talent, or hone their talent to fit the formulas. See, fit the formulas. People come in and say, "Oh, I'm a writer. I don't have any. No, I don't need discipline. I'm creative." No, you're creative so much nobody's going to read what you write. So stop with the creative stuff and take your creative and your discipline and meld them together and see how to write. I myself write books and other things, and normally I write in a thought bite. A thought bite is it's really a 4-part, let's call it a 4-part concept that you want to get across. It starts out with a headline. If you're doing it in sequence, it's going to be a crosshead, which means you go, and this crosshead's going to tell you what's going to be coming up. Okay, whether it's anything like, and here's how it works, or here's why you're going to benefit, whatever that is. You start with one line, one sentence, short sentence, long sentence, no matter, one sentence, and then that introduces what's coming next. Hopefully, you put some good mental vibes into it, and you come up with something that somebody says, "Oh, I got to read more." That's a big key. I got to read more. Then you go to the meat, and that's usually about 4, maybe 5 sentences or bullet points. And then the outro, you have an intro, you have the meat, you have an outro, and that tells you either one of 2 things. 1, what's coming next, or 2, what you've just learned and why it's important. And when you're talking about writing things that are big concepts, like copywriting, for instance, or something in the history, if you just start writing paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, nobody's going to want to read much of it, or very few people. So you take the thought bite, and you do, and that's that concept, you go to the next concept, you go to the next concept. And if you plan them right, one after the other, you will eventually get to where you want to go, which is to say to the people, and here is the answer to your problem, or here is the fulfillment of your needs. And then they can click, and we go even into how to put the call to action button, where to put it, how to surround it, all that stuff. If you can do that, you can be a copywriter.
Alan, you just use an expression that we hear all the time now called call to action.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
Everybody's been on a website, right? A call to action is the button they want you to click. All right, it's either, I work with a lot of nonprofits, so their button is donate, or help us, or contribute to the cause, whatever it has they want it to be, or you agree to it, you just have that. But to get there, you don't put it right on the top of the page, say, hey, donate to us. You haven't given them any reasons to donate to you. You haven't given any reasons to buy your product, or to use your service, or to get your book, for instance, that I do. And when you get down to the call to action, you want them to press the button. There's something that comes over almost everybody, anywhere from buying a $12,000 watch to buying a $5 book. And that is pre-buyer's remorse. They have agita. I don't know. I don't know. I think this, I'm going to, I don't want to pay the money. I don't know if it's going to be the same size. It's going to fit me. It's going to look good. No. So you really want to do a few things right around that call to action. You want to give them statements from people who have already bought it and love it. And then you want to tell them, listen, it's all right to be afraid. It's all right to worry. But with us, you don't have to worry, because we're going to give you 30 days, 7 days, whatever it is, money back, no problem. We'll pay the shipping, blah, blah, blah. And now a person has far fewer obstacles in their way. I'm not risking anything, because they're going to give me my money back if I don't like it. They'll even pay for the shipping. Okay, so now you have overcome that hurdle, and now they'll feel a lot better buying. It has been proven through studies that normal clicks come about every 3-4%. But when you surround your clicks with testimonials, special offers, and risk reducers like guarantees, warranties, all that kind of stuff, it goes up to 18%. That's 6 times, 5 to 6 times what they're getting. And I'm saying it's just good policy to do that. And you come off as a good company, which you should be.
Right.
Another one of my heroes, Bill Bernbach from Doyle Dane Bernbach. I did some freelance for them as well. And one of his quotes that I carry around, I don't think I can do it exactly, but it is the most powerful element in advertising is the truth. That's it.
The truth.
The truth. If you want to be a copywriter and you want to lie to people, then be my guest, but you're just trying to trick gullible people instead of informing and educating good people.
I always assume that people who are lying to me in, advertising or marketing are doing it because, not so much because they're professional liars, but because they haven't developed the skills to tell the truth effectively.
Not sure, but I do know, I wrote a paper once, an article that got published, and it was, what's more honest, commercial advertising or political advertising? And the answer at the end of the article was 100%. Commercial advertising was so much more honest because we are subject to rules and regulations while political ads are not. So we can't blatantly say, just as a matter of fact, our competitors are Russian influenced.
Right.
Or these guys are using substandard material in their buildings when you can't prove it. We would be taken out and hung, literally out to dry, because we'd be sued and all sorts of things. In politics, they don't care. So that, I always preach that you just tell the truth, but you tell it in such a way to make it really fun, memorable, and you do it so people want to follow what you're saying. They want to do this. They want to solve a problem. They want to look better. They want to have their wife happy. They want to have their life better. They want a great vacation. You're going to provide that and tell them why and how they can do it. So
that's fantastic.
Next question.
Well, so what are you working on now?
Well, now I'm working with, I'm getting dry. It's Arizona.
Oh, that's right. Before, whereabouts? Where are you located?
I'm in Phoenix. I'm in the Phoenix area, about 25 miles east of the airport, in a town called Mesa, which is it's a city.
It's a real city. They have an airport of their own, don't they?
Yeah. And you were from Arizona once, so you know where it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so your question was, what again?
What are you working on now?
Oh, yeah, I was worried about my water. I'm working with a few nonprofits and a few for-profits, but what I'm really working now is we've just Monday put out my new book for 2023, and it's called How to Write Copy, Your $1 Million Advantage. And what it does is introduces you to what you can do in the copywriting field, how you can take your business or your nonprofit Even nonprofits, by the way, have to market. They just don't like to call it marketing. They like to call it community outreach. And their salespeople become organizers. I don't know. They have some fear of the word marketing, but we get it through, and we do good jobs with those people too. So I've got a book, and I'm selling this book. It's an ebook. I'm selling it. I call it my $5 book.
Okay.
All right. Well, actually, it's cheaper than that. It's $4.97. But let's not get into that. 3 cents.
Yeah. We'll throw in the 3 cents.
And they can read that book, and then they can decide what they want to do in the way of other things. I have a blog with 95 free articles on it, and I have a service. We have a service called Copywriting done for you in case you're too busy or you really don't want to spend, 8 weeks, 10 weeks studying. And of course, we have the university for people who want to become copywriters and for business owners who have to become copywriters, because copywriting is the most effective way of increasing business without throwing money at it. You can do better if you become a good copywriter, or just a decent copywriter. All right, you can do better and without putting another dime into your marketing budget, simply because you will be getting a better return. Your emails will be opened more often. You're used to 10, 11, 12%. Get used to 30%, 40% opening. You're used to selling a 0.5% of an offer. Get used to getting 3 to 5%. I mean, you will pick up that much just because you will be not chasing people away. You will be bringing them in. You will be talking their language, which means the benefit to them. What's in it for them? And that's what we're looking at.
Alan, what is the name of the book again?
Book is How to Write Copy, Your $1 Million Advantage.
And where can we, I know it's an ebook, where can we find it?
Well, that's a good, I have a long string of nonsensical letters that you could go to, but if you just put in $1,000,000advantage.com, you will get to the information page.
$1,000,000advantage.com.
Advantage.com.
Seems pretty easy.
Pardon me?
It seems pretty easy.
If I can remember it, pretty much anybody can remember it.
Well, I remembered it. And what's your I know you have more than one website.
We have How to Write Copy Now, which you can get to easily. How to Write Copy Now, copywritingdoneforyou.com, and of course, we have writelikeamadman.com.
And are those websites the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, yeah, because they can do that, or they can, what I would suggest, all right, seriously, because the websites are promoting something that's a little bit more than what we're doing here. I would suggest they get the book. You get a 30-day guarantee. There'll be people who will get the book, read it, love it, and still ask for their $5 back. Okay with me. 3-4% of the people want to do that. That's all right. The point is, they will know what they're getting into, and then they can start choosing. They can get on my call sheet, so in my schedule, we can have a 20-minute conversation on what they want to do, and we can figure out what road they would like to go on. Would they want to learn? Do they want to know how long it takes? They want to know this or that? I can tell them. And then we also have free items that I give away. with the book.
We like free.
Well, free is good, but I want to tell all the copywriters out there, free is good, but free with a purchase is the best offer. Because when someone gets something absolutely free, they don't value it as much. But even if you pay $5 for the book, and then you get 2 of my my guides free, when they're if you wanted to buy them, they're $27 each. You will be really entertained and informed by them. You'll find out what kind of a style I write in and what kind of a style I teach, because I believe that you have to be fun, easy to read, and memorable. One of the things that we do is we want to have you remember something. So you use words like, for instance, $5 book. A $5 book is a 3-word phrase, but it's a hook. It's something that will stay in your mind because it's got the power of 3. 3 to a list is very powerful. 5 to a list, not so much. All right, snap, crackle, pop, Huey, Dewey, Louie. All of those, they're always 3. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Manny, Mo, and Jack.
Right, and so you take that and you can remember that. $1 million advantage, you can remember it. So when you go to writing for yourself, even if you never read the book, think about that. Get your words so that it will get into the person's mind, just a little tiny sliver, and they will be able to remember it. So if you guys go off, once we go off the air here, Phil, I suppose somebody might say, well, how do I get this? What's this website? All he has to do is remember $1 million advantage. Done. Then you'll get everything that you'll need. You'll get all of my social things. You'll be able to find.
$1 million advantage. Google it now.
.com.
.com. Sorry. Even better. Excellent. Alan Tarr, thank you very, very much for taking the time to be with us today. And I look forward to talking to you again if you're willing to come back.
Oh, my pleasure.
Excellent. I'll wear the suspenders next week. And
yeah.
All right. Listen, thank you very much, Alan.
You're most welcome. Thank you to everybody that happens to be listening, and have a great day.